to do an introduction.
Okay.
So I met Michelle at Date with Destiny. We were both crewing Tony Robbins Event in Florida this last year, and she was so generous and kind and just had this glow about her. And the way you talked about bringing personal development into the workplace is actually what caught my attention, because you're obviously the host of the Emmy Award-winning entertainment news show Extra, and I haven't had a TV for 10 years, so I had no idea who you were. But I heard you talking about personal development, and I was like, oh, I gotta get her on the show. And so, now I've seen your resume, and you host the Mindset Mashup podcast, and you're really out there in the community and all over TV. So it's my pleasure to have you on. If there's anything I missed about your background and resume, I would love to hear it.
Hi, Nick. Well, just want to be really clear. I'm not the main host on Extra. I do a weekly segment, but still it is a big show and it's a big platform, and I'm extremely grateful. And yes, I did bring a revelatory breakthrough that I got at Date with Destiny a year ago. So 1 year before I met you at Date with Destiny, that changed my life, not only in the workplace, but in every relationship and every situation that I find myself in.
Wow, that's a powerful hook to start us off with. So should we dive into that later, or you want to dive into that revelation now?
Oh, we can dive into it whenever you want.
Let's go.
It's your show.
Yeah, we're already there. So let's see, what was the realization from that Date with Destiny that you brought into every area of your life?
Okay, so the biggest thing is that it's not about me. It's never about me. It's only about others. And so if I'm aware of the energy and the state, like Tony Robbins, who's one of my favorite mentors and yours as well, if we are conscious about owning 100% responsibility for our life, our reaction, our state, which is what he starts with at Business Mastery, Date with Destiny, and Unleash the Power Within. It's all about state. Our physiology, our mindset, right? Which is why I run the top podcast in self-help called the Mindset Mashup. So if I'm 100% responsible for that, then it's no longer about me and only about others. So when I walk on the set on Extra, for example, my thought as I'm in my car, I say one sentence to myself: how can I serve love even more right now? And my only job is to walk on that set and lift the co-host, lift the producers, the crew, and then of course the millions of viewers that tune in. And then as I looked at that, I'm like, this works everywhere, right? Especially if we experience nerves or anxiety around even doing a live here, right?
Of course.
It's not about me, it's only about others. And if we're about serving love at the core of it, you can never go wrong. Right? And it's so humbling. But then imagine how that will transform personal relationships with clients and colleagues and strangers. I don't believe that we meet a stranger. I believe that everyone was once, you think about the friends in our life, they were once a stranger. So the fundamental is that it's all about serving love everywhere I go. Sometimes I forget, but that's why it's a tool. Repetition is the mother of skill.
And it's funny you say that, because I got that vibe from you the whole time we were together, just that heart of service. And again, hearing the way that you talked about, how you love the people you work with and the way you treated the other crew, the word is congruent. You were totally congruent with that belief system in your life. And that was what drew me to you and to have you on, to kind of learn more about what makes you tick.
Well, thank you. And there was a kismet connection between the two of us. I mean, we, as slammed as we were, because crewing Date with Destiny is no joke. Jonathan Cordozo, in fact, who's the one who approves all the requests, his exact words were all caps, because he was writing me a message: it's intense. And I was like, great, bring it on, because I wanted intensity, right? Like, I love that. It shows me who I really am, especially if I know it's for a finite period of time. I love that stuff. But you and I still managed in a synchrodestined way, which was the intention that I set for Date with Destiny. I knew it would be intense. I knew I would be sleep deprived, and it would be fine for the first few days, and then it would start to stack, right? And so by day 5, I could barely open my eyes, but I served with my full heart. But what was cool is that before day 1, I was like, I don't want this to be stressful. I don't want to experience anything less than the intention that I came here with, which is to serve love. And if I need to speak to someone, I don't want to stress on how can I find them in the midst of 6,000 people or whatever. I want to just slide and glide and synchro destiny, the right person at the right time. And I wanted to have meaningful connections with certain people that I would be surprised by, but I didn't want to have to go looking for it. So I set a strong intention. And so you and I, several times in an intense week where there's no time to socialize, we would find ourselves eating in our like 10-minute break meals at the same time, and just diving in, going deep, and really connecting, which is why we're here. So I thank you for being who you are and what you do in the world. And I also, that was another thing that I shared, which is we don't have to try so hard, right? We can just glide and just know that everything is always working out for our highest and best good. Life is always happening for us, never to us. But when we set that intention, life is so much easier.
Yeah, and you know, I think like energy attracts like energy, and I know, you know, we go there with that heart of service, and even on this call, it's really with my intention to give people that one piece of transformation or inspiration, and I think us having that same mindset brought us together. But it also gives so much energy, right? Like when you're in fear and doubt and worry, your energy just dissipates. And when you come from that love and you get out of your head and and come from your heart, the energy available to you just multiplies and amplifies it. And I think that's what came off of you that week. And I'm sure actually all the time is what comes off of you.
Totally. Where do you live?
I'm in Davenport, Iowa.
Okay, because you just said multiply and amplify, and that's like totally my term, but I stole it from my one of my first mentors, my spiritual mentor, Reverend Michael Beckwith from the Agape International Spiritual Center. He was in The Secret. He's been on Super Soul Sessions. Anyway, I was just like, is Nicholas here? Is he going to Agape? But I love that term, multiply and amplify, because it really can be that easy if we stay plugged into who we really are and what it really is. And so one of the biggest gifts that I just got from the second round of Date with Destiny, and especially being in service this round, was that it's all energy, right? And so when we tune into that, it's an incredibly different shift, and life just flows that much more beautifully.
Yeah, so my theme this last week was gratitude, because gratitude is that energy that just allows things in, and you don't have to work as hard. Things just kind of flow to you, and you're not resisting from that energy, right? And I know, so talk to me about maybe a little bit about your journey in understanding the energy and how you harness that to accomplish. Obviously, you're a very successful woman, so kind of your journey from day one to where you are now, and how personal development tied into that.
Okay, that is like a lifelong question. However, I do have a way to answer it. I was blessed enough to be raised by parents, especially my mother, who was a diehard personal development junkie. So I was raised on Abraham Hicks. Mm-hmm. I was raised on Byron Katie and Reverend Michael Beckwith. I actually found Reverend Michael Beckwith when I was like 22, and then introduced that teaching, Science of Mind, to my family. I was raised on Tony Robbins. And, you know, and then other motivational speakers that totally transformed my life, a guy named Michael Wickett, and then Terry Cole Whitaker. But it's a matter of when you're really ready to integrate. You've often heard the term, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Okay, so here I am. I've been listening and even memorizing a lot of these personal development cassettes, Nick, way back in the day.
I remember them.
Okay, well, that's good. And then CDs, who even has CDs these days? Some we would literally like wear through. Like I would listen to them so many times. But again, just memorizing. Didn't really activate it fully. Knew some stuff. Knew that, yes, that resonates as truth. You know how truth has a substance and has a weight to it? Yes. And so I was listening to these incredible people that I just mentioned. I'm like, yes, my soul resonates there. But I was still living in addiction, smoking cigarettes on and off, mostly on for 30 years, drinking probably too much at times, excessively, addicted to Red Bull, the ultimate. Mm-hmm. There's a whole reason why that happened. I was on air in the overnights, and it was really tough to stay up and on live TV in the middle of the night, especially when I go to bed at like 10 p.m. like every night. It was really hard for me. So everyone on the crew was drinking Red Bull. I don't want people to think like, how'd that happen? That's how that happened. But anyway, so I was still riddled with the small-mindedness and the anxieties and the stuff that would hold me back from unleashing and awakening to who I really am in a way that's truly integrated, so that I'm walking the talk, right? The practice what you preach thing. Yes. That happened for me fully, and others would disagree. Some people, like my mother, people who've known me for many, many years, would say, girl, this is who you've always been. But there's an unveiling, and I know you must get this, that you get it to a deeper level and we continue to evolve. So where the seismic and quantum shift for me happened that 10x'd my life financially, spiritually, professionally, emotionally, in my personal relationships, etc., was at Date with Destiny 2017. So I look at my life, even though I've been a junkie for this and wrote a book on gratitude and was already on air for 7 years, had a tremendous journey, but it was the alignment within that I was really looking for, that I was still not plugged into. So I look at Date with Destiny and I say, my life was before and after that event. Again, others would say, what? But I know it. And I'm like, and by the way, I'm humble enough to know what's the next chapter, right? Where is that next big shift? Because I'm hungry and open. I just constantly want to grow.
So for me, it was UPW the first time, and I did it 2.5 years ago. And before that, it was like everything I learned was in my conscious mind, but it didn't integrate until I hit this level of energy where everything integrated, and then my whole life just exploded and changed, right? And I don't know if that was the same.
Oh my God, I love it.
I don't know if that was the same experience for you, but it's like, I know it, right? I know it, and then boom, oh, I am it, like I'm living it.
Yes, that's exactly it. Great way to sum it up. So you just said it better than I could have said it. And my soul totally loves you. I'm just like, this is why we're on here. I forgot. You know, it was a month in, 6 weeks ago, right? When we had our last breaking bread moment. But what you just said, even the language of everything exploded. What I want everyone to hear, and we've got 9 or 10 people watching, which we love you and we thank you for that in the middle of your Friday to be tuning in. What I want everyone to hear is that this is so possible. All we have to do is just get into some event, that full immersion, tap into explosive energy, which is all state, right? However you get there. And then from that space, you can create anything. Abraham calls it the vortex. Top athlete coaches call it the zone. You would say, or Grant Cardone says it's 10X. You know, whatever it is, find it and dive into it. And I mean, everything shifts and it's so much easier.
Yes. I mean, I can feel throughout the day, like when my state changes, like I'm so used to paying attention to it that I know when I'm in it and I see how people respond to me. Right. And
totally.
And like, I'm super charismatic. 1 minute, everyone's drawn to me. And then if I get worried or fearful and shy and that shuts off, like crickets, no one's, you know what I mean? Like no one's drawn to me.
100%. And by the way, I would also say, because you're out there and you're putting yourself out there, which takes a tremendous amount of courage, that sometimes crickets is neutral. I always say that nothing. I got this from Brad Johnson. Do you know him?
I do. Yeah, of course.
Oh, okay. Well, Brad Johnson said something that he got from someone else. He was on my podcast last year. I love Brad. That's right, because you're all part of the Rock Thomas world, which I love rock. Yeah, he's in M1. He isn't he the director of Possibility? He's got some great title. Yeah. Anyway, hey Brad, if you're watching. But he said something that I will never forget. And I use it now all the time in my podcast and in my masterminds. And I say that nothing is neutral until proven otherwise. So in other words, when we come up here and do these lives, or when we're putting ourselves out there in the world, you know, we're so quick to wonder if crickets means negative. No, crickets is neutral, right? So it's not even always about us owning our state and having that charismatic energy. Sometimes it's just they're not there, right? And that's okay too. But it doesn't mean they're not watching, or that you haven't inspired one person or affected one person or given them a gateway. So I just offer up both because I think that they're equally valuable and important.
Yeah, I actually really like that. That's pretty powerful. So another thing we talked about is you kind of mentioned shedding layers, right? And I think that's really what personal development is all about, is just continually shedding the layers of fear and those programs that you get from your parents and your friends and society, and becoming your true self. And so I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about, for you, what that meant, you know, other people's expectations or your programs that were layers
totally.
That you just kind of let go and freed yourself from as you grow.
Great question. And I love the way that you asked that question. You're deep. I love this. Okay, so at Date with Destiny 2017, I got partnered in a synchro destined faded way with the best buddy on the planet. His name is DJ. He lives in London. He's a 6'2" tall drop of chocolate amazingness, and he's also a coach. And you know how day one you're just supposed to look around and like eyes lock and then, hey, let's be buddies. Yep. Now some people take on those buddy relationships very, very seriously. Now others are like, whatever, my buddy can like F off, right? Like they just, whatever. Everyone comes in with a different mindset. But Date with Destiny was on my bucket list for 2 years. I call it my bliss list. Ever since I saw I'm Not Your Guru, and of course, being a lifelong fan of Tony. So to say that I had high expectations for Date with Destiny is an absolute understatement. Anyway, it blew me away, and it was better than I could have ever dreamed of. But day one, I get this buddy, which is incredible. And it was about halfway through, because you're talking, you're connecting, you're holding each other accountable, you're, sharing homework ideas, you're decompressing, you're unpacking years of bullshit and limiting beliefs and old thought patterns together. And you can really become so tight. Like, he's still one of my dearest, dearest friends. Anyway, so I have to bring him up because he's a big piece of this. But he said to me, I had just helped him on something he was trying to uncover. And he was like, it's this, it's that. And he was having this massive breakthrough, and he was crying, and I was holding space. And then once he was completely done, I offered something from my hallucination. In other words, it may not be real, may not be right, and it may not resonate. But this is also something else to consider as an additional 2 millimeter shift in that breakthrough. That for him opened up the floodgates. It completely changed his life. I can't share it because it's really, really private. But it was so freaking profound for him. And it was just a simple thing for me of just being a really good, deep listener, right? In that moment for my buddy. But anyway, then that's when he said to me, you've got to be on that stage. It's maybe not that stage, not Tony's stage, but you have got to be doing this work in the world. And I started to cry because my soul knew that's what I wanted. I'd been on air. I'd had all this other success. And I kept telling myself that my third and final career, because I had real estate career and then all the TV stuff, would be this work. But I hadn't stepped into it. And the reason why is, what would others think? I was obsessed with significance. That's one of the top needs that Tony talks about. I didn't even know how badly I was being run by wanting people to approve of me, wanting people to like me, worrying about what they think. And we all experience that to some level. It'll still come back and try to get me every once in a while. And I have to remember that it doesn't matter. Stay in my lane. Go with what's calling me, right? So that was the middle of Date with Destiny. And that's when I decided I would launch a podcast. And the initial title was called The Significant Shift, because it went from being significant to not giving an F. And then I realized that's too vague. Who's going to listen? And then it turned into the blind spot breakthrough, because I think the biggest blind spot that all humans have in life is what others think. But even that, as I started to do interviews, no one really wanted to talk that honestly in the beginning. Now they would, but then I got scared and I went to my producer and I was like, we got to change the title again. Let's just have it really be what it is, which is mindset. We can talk about breakthroughs. We can talk about shifts. So anyway, we decided on the mindset mashup, but it's really that. We cannot be obsessed with what others think. If God has placed grace, God, universal intelligence, love, whatever you want to call it, has placed a dream or a vision in your heart, then there will be the tools, the resources, and the right people that will magnetize to bring it to fruition. I know it's the truth. And the more that I just took a little bit of action, and I was a little bit brave and a little bit courageous, and just stepped through and broke it open, I found that it was A, less crowded, and B, I couldn't even relate to the person who used to care so much about the lighting. Right now I'm like, wow, you got great lighting, and I don't. That's okay. Who cares, right? It's more about the intention. And so anyway, it's a long-winded answer to your very wonderful question. But the bottom line is that it comes down to loving ourselves enough to trust in the vision that's calling us, and to not be concerned with what others might think, and to just move forward. And here's what happens. And I know you've experienced the same. You start to give others permission to shine their light. So I didn't even know it when I started on my masterminds, which is another thing my buddy said, you've got to be coaching. So now I do a ton of one-on-ones and then large groups. We've got well over 100 right now in our group. And we bring in speakers like Joseph McClendon and Scott Harris and Rock Thomas and all these incredible people. But it's like, I realized that who I'm really attracting are coaches and speakers and authors, because they too have a message. They too know that they want to be of value and want to add service to others' lives. But just piercing that veil of like, what would others think if I did that in social media? You must, as Tony would say, if you can't, you must.
Yeah, so I know you got to go, so we'll start wrapping things up. But I started I was always hesitant, like, what are people going to think? That I'm doing personal development. Like, that's kind of weird. And now I just totally embraced it. And I'm like, I'm putting out content every day. Like, I'm the man at this. I'm going. And as soon as I did, everyone was like, I'm on board. Your stuff's awesome. Like, and it's always like, whatever I made out in my head that it was going to happen, of course, it never happens, right? It's always like, this is a lot easier than I thought once you take the action.
Totally. And it's fear, you know, even when I hear someone say, I'm shy, and I'm like, are you shy or is that some fear?
Yeah.
Right? Like, let's just be really honest. Sage Robbins like to talks about the soft filters that we put on things to just kind of let ourselves off the hook a little bit. And I'm good for that. I have the most compassion that you could hope for, right? Like my heart is really, really open and I feel deeply, but I also want to be really straight. You know, so it's like we have to be honest with ourselves, radically honest, and that takes courage too. So it's like whatever we're doing that we're allowing ourselves to stay small and to be held back, what is that? We all are worthy, and one of the top 2 human fears on the planet is that we're not worthy and we'll never be loved, right? And ultimately it's that we'll never be loved because we're not worthy. So I think the shy thing or the feeling fear thing is just around, am I worthy of speaking my voice? Am I worthy of capturing the attention or someone actually opening their wallet and working with me? Yes. And you know why you are? Because you say you are. And then the person who comes to the table with the most certainty will attract all of that abundance. It's mindset. It is absolutely mindset. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. 100%.
That was a leading question. Yeah. What do you think was a better way to ask that?
I do the same thing. Yes. No, of course. It's all mindset. And that certainty is energy, right? It's faith. Like faith and doubt are 2 different energetic resonances. And when you have faith, people are drawn to that, right? And if you have rapport, you can pull people from doubt and into faith. And that's what you and I do as coaches, right? We take away that fear, we resonate with them, and then we pull them into that faith and certainty zone so that they can have the life that they want.
Totally. That's exactly it. And it's such a fun way to be. By the way, you can have fear and you can have doubt. Just don't be fearful and doubtful.
Yes.
Right? Don't let that be the identity. It's like, okay, I'm experiencing some fear right now. And how can I use this? Right? What can I do? What do I need to call on right now? A question that I ask myself, and we use this a lot in the mastermind, is what would my lover do, or what would my warrior do? You know, the 4 archetypes. What would my king or queen do, and what would my magician do? I use my magician all the time. When my schedule is triple booked, which I do to myself all the time, I'm like, what would my magician do right now to like work this out? Because sometimes I don't know the how. And Tony talks about this not only at Date with Destiny and the Unleash Power Within and Business Mastery, his big marquee events. It's like the how will fuck us up. Sorry for the language. I hope it's okay.
That's perfect.
I've tried to be cool about it. Okay. That's really in my nature right now. But the how will fuck us up every single time. So instead it's like, well, what would I do if I knew how? Or what could be a resource that I'm not tapping into? Or what if I just move forward and I don't know how it's all going to work out, but I have faith and I just take action?
Yes.
I think the universe responds in tenfold. Action breeds clarity. Action breeds bravery. Action breeds results. And I don't know about you, but I'm not interested in anyone's money. I want their results. Right. And I know Rock says the same thing, and I know he means it. It's like nothing lights me up more than when someone circles back and they're like, I did it. I launched the thing, or
yes.
I asked the question, or I reached out on a DM and got a yes. You know, it's like, yes, don't let anything hold you back. You may as well try. And if it's a no, it's just a no right now. It's a ... You know?
So much more fulfilling than the money, right? Those results are so much more.
Yes.
They go to the heart, and that's what life's about, right? It's those.
Well,
those
it's
moments.
so true. It's the most fulfilling thing in the world. Like I was reflecting on my 2018, and I don't know about you, but it was the best year of my life. And I only want to 10x it from here every single day, right? Fulfillment, connection, community, service, all this amazing stuff. But we have to look at why it was so great. You know, if you've had any period of time in your life that was amazing, a week, a month, 6 months, a day, what did you do or say that got you there? And then just look to duplicate more of that, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty simple stuff. We've got the tools at our disposal. Not one of us needs another book, another seminar, another event, another class, another podcast download. I love my podcast, but I'm telling the truth here. If we just integrated all that we know and actually lived it day in, day out for a finite period of time, just even a few weeks, our life would be radically transformed.
So to add on to that really quick, the archetypes are what I do with my hypnosis work is what I call ego state work. And so when you can maintain that particular state that served you, that resource state, then you stay in the energy and then everything flows, right? And then all those results are available to you.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. You know what? Maybe we should do a hypnotherapy session. We should do it live.
I would love it. I would love it.
Would you do it live with me?
Yeah, let's talk about it for sure.
Okay, I mean, why not? But that's really beautiful work. I love that you're up to that. So what light are you using, by the way? Can you show us?
Yeah. It's just a basic ring light.
Okay, but watch.
Uh-oh.
I have one of those bad boys. I mean, I really do try to come prepared, but mine makes me look all fuzzy.
I think you look great.
You look great.
What do you have now? You look amazing.
No, this is just the quasi-natural lighting because I don't have a ton of great natural light in this room, but I appreciate it. But you look really glowy. So anyway, another Facebook Live.
I have good energy right now. Maybe that's what it is.
You have great energy. And by the way, we need to do another one of these, but on my page. So this is going to go to a podcast?
Yes, I will give you all the links and everything. Can you tell the audience where they can find you and learn more about you?
Right here on Facebook, although I think I hit the friend capacity. But still you can follow, and then that way you're going to get all the updates. I mean, there are lots of masterminds that I run. Also one with Tony's top coach, Michael Nady, Tony Robbins. A lot of people in your group are from Tony World, right?
A lot.
And we've got a killer mastermind going right now that's closed, but you can get on the wait list for the next one. But the podcast, the Mindset Mashup, that can be found on virtually all platforms. So whether you're Apple or Android, and like, you know, this week we released Danielle Laporte. She's an incredible author and speaker and writer, because there is a difference between a writer and an author. And then last week was Scott Harris. We had Joseph McClendon on, Siri Lindley on, Jarek Robbins. I've had Rock Thomas on. Just getting started with Tony's coming on next month. That's been confirmed. The date has been set. It's huge.
Good for you.
Yes. And so I know a lot of people were like, okay, we know, girl, you got him to say yes, but don't be surprised if it doesn't happen anytime in the near future. And I'm like, oh, it's happening. Again, certainty.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, what would you ask him if you had one question to ask Tony?
I would.
And maybe one day you'll get him here. I have no doubt.
Yeah, well, for sure. Maybe he'll have me on his. I'm gonna think about that. I'm gonna think about that, and I'm gonna send you a question.
Okay, I know we talked about this during one of our meal breaks at Date with Destiny. Do you remember what you said? I won't say it.
I don't remember. What were we talking about?
Oh, about what you would ask Tony?
I don't remember. You can say it. Was it weird?
I wonder if it actually was it you? I thought you had said, there's one thing, I love his teachings, he's one of my mentors, blah, blah, but you were like, but he's constantly talking about to model someone else. What about finding our own identity? Was that not you?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, good. Because I'm like, it is, but see, I'm a big fan of, I've got my 3 eyes. It's like, we want to imitate, integrate, before we innovate, right? Because we all need a model, right? Tony had his role models and his mentors. Athletes have their role models and mentors. We all do. And so, you know, why try to reinvent or create from scratch? It's like, just see what someone's doing. If it really resonates, it's truth. Like I've got like 3 or 4 that I pull from, I marry it, integrate it, and then bring it out in my own tone. You know, it's like, why make it so difficult on ourselves? And that's why people don't really step out and create something, because they're like, I don't have an original thought. The fact that you are you is original. So just get out there and get out of your own way.
Yeah, actually, I interviewed Rock on Tuesday, and he said he copied and modeled Tony for so long, and then after a while, he started to find his own voice. And so
exactly.
Yeah, and for all
and I share that
for those of you out there, like, it's okay to model somebody, get your feet under you, get your balance, and then start to express yourself in whatever way that is for you.
I agree. And you know where I heard that the first time was my yoga teacher, because I was in this yoga teacher training program. So it applies to any industry. It doesn't matter if you're a speaker, author, or coach. You could be a realtor, an attorney, a physician, a stay-at-home mom. The bottom line is that if you like what someone else is doing, you're like, ooh, I'm kind of into that. What if I tried something like that? Imitate, integrate, innovate. Because I was learning how to teach yoga as a passion side project to give back to my community. I was never going to be a full-time professional yoga teacher. That was not my jam, but I loved it because of what it gave to me. But I'll never forget Mia Togo, who was my yoga teacher mentor for 500 hours of training. She just said, guys, stop comparing yourself against someone who's been teaching for 5 or 10 or 15, 20 years. When I came out with my podcast, the day that I released it, which was June 11th, 2018, I called up my producer with tears down my face saying, we've made a big mistake. Close it all down. Who am I? And all those old anxieties came up. And she said to me, what is the number one thought you're thinking right now? And I said, I'm comparing myself against Oprah. She's like, girl, Oprah was not even Oprah when Oprah started.
Yes.
Oprah's Oprah today, 40 years later. Tony Robbins is who he is today, 41 years later. So it's to get started. We all want this 10-year version of ourselves without doing the work in the meantime.
Yes.
It is about keeping your head down, doing the work, being relentless about how you can be of service and add value. And eventually, if it's striking a chord, they'll come. You know, so anyway, that whole thing of like, I love the way Oprah interviews. And to this day, you know, I have yet to get myself down to a 33-minute interview like she does on Super Soul Sessions. As you can tell, I go long.
I see that, yeah.
But that's my goal. Well, when I get into it, I get into it. And anyway, so this is just fun stuff for me. But yes, the moral of the story is imitate, integrate, and innovate.
I love that. I'm definitely going to be using that and giving you credit for it. That's a great model.
Well, my teacher, but yes, thank you. It's a good one. And likewise.
I appreciate your time. This has been an amazing interview. You are always enlightening, energizing, charismatic, and inspiring.
That's for sure.
So, yeah. So thank you
so much
for your time.
Well, I adore you. Yes. And we've got much more to do. Like I'm envisioning some panel where there's a bunch of us speaking, and I don't know if it's like a live or if it's an in-person workshop, but I think we should pull our resources and maybe get Rock involved and Joseph, and I mean, who knows? Like, I think we can create something really cool because it's this stuff that people want to hear from different points of view, different ages, different genders, up to different things. But the bottom line is it's all the same. Get out of our own way and step up.
Yes.
Right? Step up because you're being called. So if that tapping is happening on your heart, in your head, wherever it might be, you got to listen. This is the year to do it.
Yes. When is now a good time, right? When is now a good time?
It's like probably my favorite question. Well, when would now be a good time?
Of course,
so good.
That's why you and I get along so well.
Well, and you're family for me, my friend. And so thank you to Jonathan Cordozo, if he ever watches this, for giving me an approval to crew, because I had to give back to the single event that changed my life. And it got me in proximity with amazing souls like you. And I just salute you and all that you're up to, because you are a force for good, my friend.
You as well. Thank you so much for your time, Michelle. We'll chat soon.
Yes, we will.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks so much.
Bye.